Very good. 6 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Being the 17th day, we are doing politics at this hour. Iron Politics. I call upon you to stay there. If you get late for work, it will all be because of me. But I will not take responsibility. All right? Because it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting show. I can promise you that. All right. So a lot happened over the past week. Of course, the president was in the county of Nairobi, traversing different parts in apparent development tours, and some of them were to launch different projects which had been started by different members of parliament, different, county government officials, etc., etc. That happened for the better part of last week. And today I want us to take a look at what is in the governance and development. Governance and development. Where do we strike that balance between governance and development? Because now it seems that there is a silent kind of disquiet amongst political class who say that some of these projects should be left for them to launch. But who is now taking the credit? Governance and development. I want us to take a look at that. And are you getting development in your area? That's a big question. Are you getting development in your area? Let's talk about that. Our lines will be left open sometimes. That's 0716 10 3301 at around 8. Talk to us. Are you getting development in your area? I have my guest, Wafula Mutacho, who is a Ford Kenya chairperson, Nzoia County. Omwami Bushere.
Bushere mna.
Morashina.
Malay.
Very good. I got it. Yeah. I got it right.
Should be the second language, national language.
The second one?
Should be.
I see. I see.
Third one after Kiswahili.
After which one?
After Kiswahili. But Kiswahili, English is not our language.
But the problem is that the dialects, there's some tribes that are so many. You go to Waisuha, you go to Waidaho, you go to Wasamia.
But all of us, we are lawyers.
Go to that side of,
one roof.
Exactly.
All of us, we are lawyers.
Different bedrooms.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just different bedrooms.
Yes. But the compound is the same.
The same.
I get it.
The grandfather is the same.
That's why I was told that when you go to Bungoma, come to Kakamega, the language changes completely.
Not very little accent changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That is so different from Mark, from where Mark come from. It's one. From A to Z.
To deal with one.
It's one.
One dialect.
Wamukata one?
Nesa munomo.
Very good.
That is from Machakos.
Machakos, Kithi, Makueni, so they say.
Everything in the linear scale.
Yeah.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And Reverend Mark Echakara, all the way from the other side of the mountain, he'll tell us later on. Do you know which mountain I'm talking about?
Yes.
Not ile mlima you're talking about.
Hata yetu ni mlima.
Kuna mlima ingine. He'll tell us. Mark, karibu.
Asante sana.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Hata Mount Elgon ni mlima.
Yeah. Of course. Yes. Karibu sir to the program. So let's get the show on the road. We are waiting for Wakili George Kithi to join us shortly. He's an advocate of the High Court. So before we get into that, gentlemen, why don't I take you through the front page of the local dailies here? Let me take you through. On the front page of the Standard, road tax tyranny. That is what is here. On the front page of the Standard, road tax tyranny. Cabinet last week approved the construction of the Rironi-Mau Summit Highway, which is, many people would say that is way long overdue. But now there's a twist to it, because now there is going to be, the government has a plan to introduce road tolls, which could generate around 4.8 trillion shillings. But at what cost? That's the big question. Critics say that it's another financial strain on Kenyans, benefiting private firms while raising transport costs. But then now, with the debt rising and infrastructure needs mounting, is this the solution or just another levy on an already over tax politics? But that is, well, if you ask me, it's a good infrastructure. If that road would be done, then I think it's going to open that western circuit by a lot. She left for work. Now she faces death sentence. That's in the story of a Kenyan in Vietnam. Of course, the government says that they're in touch with their Vietnamese counterpart, and they are sticking to have the stay of that order to have the lady executed. She's fighting to save her life from execution. Nduta was arrested in 2023 at a Vietnamese airport and accused of trafficking drugs. Foreign Affairs PS Korea Nding'o said that Kenya had asked for a stay of execution. That was as at yesterday, and we are still waiting to hear that the apparent execution was to happen yesterday, as per the reports. That's on Sunday yesterday. Whether it happened, we are still waiting to get more from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And of course, it's also said that President William Ruto also called the authorities in that jurisdiction to have that stay upheld for quite some time, for the two countries to have a discussion surrounding it. It's alleged that Nduta was arrested with 2 kilograms of a narcotic, to be specific, that is cocaine. And of course, Vietnam has one of the most stringent measures when it comes to fight against drug in that country. So let's wait and see how the two countries are going to resolve that case. And of course, the family are also requesting that she be brought back home and face charges in Kenya. We hope that something is going to be done. All right, so very quickly, on the front page of this Daily Nation, how jobs and pay crisis hit families. Shrinking pay for employees and job cuts have hit families hard as purchasing power for households has declined in recent years. A parliamentary committee report shows that households will plunge into further financial distress owing to harsh policies like the skewed methods of being applied to determine what families pay for, university education, and a state-run medical scheme that has seen some unfairly slapped with higher rates. There we go again. So it's all about the economy, where employment rate has declined from 4.9% in 2019 to 4.4% in 2023. And finally, still on the front page of the Daily Nation, inside Kenya's political merry-go-round, we have it here. So that is again. And finally, senators now want counties given 465 billion shillings. This sets the stage for another battle with the national government, as the Treasury is proposing that devolved units get 405.1 billion shillings of the equitable share for the financial year ending June 30th, 2026. And finally, on the front page of the Star, KRA goes for small traders. Why? Government is exploring new ways of taxing small businesses to ease burden on salaried individuals and corporates. Okay, I want to be unfair to this. Mark, what do you make of this?
What?
Government is now planning to tax small businesses to ease the burden on salaried.
KRA
Yes.
or government?
Government.
Of course.
KRA's government.
KRA. They're going for small traders to ease that burden on salaried individuals and corporates.
Well, I think for very long it's a conversation. It's been an ongoing conversation. The people with pay slips have really carried this nation on their shoulders for the longest time possible.
Yeah.
And those who are not in the formal money-making sector have been having it easy at the expense of the salaried people. So every time the burden of raising revenue for building the nation comes, the majority of it goes on the shoulders of those who are salaried.
Yeah.
But people out here doing business, whether it's small, but they are making more money than even those who are salaried. Because you can imagine someone who earns a salary, say, of 50,000 shillings per month, with all the deductions, their take home maybe is less than even 25,000 shillings.
Yes.
But someone is, quote unquote, a small scale farmer who is making on average per month, if with all the net profits over 70,000 shillings, they say those are small scale traders. We should not frustrate local investors.
Yeah.
But they are using roads which are constructed using money that is deducted from the person earning 50,000 because they have a pay slip.
Yes.
So I think it's a bit unfair. I think every person must take pride in in the fact that they are participating and taking part in nation building.
Okay. Yes. All right. So now that you're still on, let me ask you, what really stood out for you in the past 1 week? A lot happened in the country. Of course, all of you are going to tell me what really stood out for you in the past 1 week. What can you just look back as we start new week? What really stood out? What was so interesting in this country that perhaps you can comment on?
Well, everything that happened the past week is a product. The most interesting is what played out in our political scene.
Yes.
The pact between UDA and ODM. And so everything else that has happened thereafter is as can be traced to those two signatures between President William Ruto and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So I believe that those two signatures are going to shape the national discourse for the next foreseeable future, especially as far as our politics is concerned.
All right, Mark, what really stood out for you last week?
Yeah, I think last week was a week of many things. The first one being the MOU between the president and the ODM leader. And also, it was a continuation of what has been happening. A week full of politics, because we saw the president moving around the city on a development tour, which if you look at what was happening, it wasn't a development tour, it was a campaign. Because everywhere it was a talk of the coming elections. So I think we are continuing to see more politics and politics as the week goes on. Yeah.
Okay. Wafula, what really stood out for you last week?
Last week, Victor, it was a good one for me. Especially on the decision of Archbishop Sapit, yes, to come up strongly and defend the church. For the last few years, we politicians, we've been using the church as a place of politics. We get the free gathering, then we start politicizing. And Sapit has set up a clear indication that we should not allow, we respect pulpit. We are Christians, even Muslims. They don't do that. You go to mosque, you ask Muslims. They don't allow politics in the mosque. Yeah, you cannot go there and start putting up some political narratives and whatever. So Sapit has shown up the way, and I urge even other entities of church, Catholic, turn up the same, so that we can change this country. Victor, after election, we have been in campaign mode all throughout. And for that, we cannot do any development as a country. So most of us politicians, we get a free gathering through the church. So we are fond of going to the church in the name, in quote, that we are going to pray. But no, we want to get that gathering so that we do our politics. So Sapit has done it, and I just want to congratulate him. That was my week.
Okay. Wakili Judge Kithi, welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You had a great weekend.
I think I did.
What do you mean you think you did?
This is Kenya. Until you are sure, you're never sure. You never show me yourself.
That's akin to saying, Niko tu. Okay. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
What stood out for you the last 1 week?
Well, it was a week of mixed gains and losses here and there. But what stood out for me was that this is the advent of the campaign period.
Yes.
I think factually, although that will be denied time over, is that the president has started his campaigns, probably to prepare himself and consolidate what is already available. Obviously, that's the direction that he's probably communicating to the country on account of how he's organizing himself. That obviously will be read or misread, whichever way one looks at it. The other issue also that stands out is the fact that the president hasn't stopped making promises, even to the tail end of his term, because we've started the tail end now on a downside. You see, the aeroplane will ascend, and that's the hope that people usually have when a new regime is coming in.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's characterized by hope. Then there's the equilibrium, the social equilibrium that is ordinarily reached. That's the time when people should be developing. Then the downside is now you have to account for your period. You must say what you did, what you promised, whether you fulfill the promises, and whether the public is satisfied with what you did.
Yeah.
And I think we're descending very fast to the landing. At the landing is where now we have to commit our elections and say whether we want the person to continue or not. And that's obviously a scale that is supposedly by the by the people themselves to cast their vote in a universal suffrage. But more importantly is that we want to see the face of IEBC being put into place, because there are many gaps that are still available. One, we are towards the tail end, and we have had places that have no representation whatsoever up to now. We are already late. There are certain things we can do, like the revision of boundaries, a delineation, fresh delineation of boundaries, so on. So by law, we're already late. We can't even go there. And that is because of our indiscipline in our politics. Like my good friend has said, politics seems to be the best available economic, I will call it the economic activity that is done. You see, because it's easy, and everybody seems to go for it. For instance, at Mashinani, whoever comes to the rally, obviously, when it's not during campaign period, you mobilize. Yeah. Even those people you see in the streets when the president goes around are mobilized. Mobilized using an economy of sorts, using money. So the economy of, the money economy in this country is big, and it is always being waited for, because there are people obviously who will buy vehicles and build houses using the economy of politics. So there seems to be easy money around that, and therefore probably that's why people then run around it. And it is always welcome. By the way, the churches welcome it, the population welcomes it, and the politicians like it, because it's the only way to conquer and dominate on the populace.
Okay, but now when is enough? When is enough? Mark, when you look at it, when is enough? Because the two gentlemen probably is like they've read my mind, what I want to talk about politics and governance, because now we are just 2.5 years and a majority of Kenyans have not healed from last election, you know, and it seems that already we've kicked off. So at what point are we going to have that flat surface where politics taking a backseat and everything is quiet? The only thing you can see is development and development and more development.
Well, I think what my two brothers here have alluded to is a prevailing reality. And from where I sit, I look at it, I think as a nation, we are a nation that is overly political, to the point that even things which are not necessarily political, we find our Kenyan way of lending it a political aspect. So basically we find like we eat, we sleep, we drink, we dream politics, to the point that now we cannot differentiate between the clear differences in seasons and what is required, and the people themselves on the ground to appreciate that. Because you see, politics is like dope. No, it's like it's addictive. For a politician to lack a weekend gathering or a group of people to talk to who resonate with what they are saying is like it drives them into depression. So our society has become overly politicized to the point that every day, we can't sleep without hearing a little juicy gossip here about politics. Even though at that point in time... Is it an
addiction or a constant worry for a re-election? Because...
You see, politicians, that is what they live on. Anything that looks like it threatens their voice and their visibility is a threat to them. So it is in their best interest to sustain their visibility and their audience with the people. Now, where do we put the divide? If the people decided, we just had the elections 1.5 years ago or 1 year ago, we are not having elections next year or the next 2 years, and you are hearing a politician is coming to a local shopping center, you leave your farm, shut down your business, that you're going to listen to that fellow there. So it's actually the people who feed this. It's actually the people who feed this.
Yes.
There are nations, even if a politician passes, nobody even cares. Unaona? Especially if it's not campaign time. Nobody cares. They will go shopping there, and nobody will stop and say, hey, Mwesha mefika. You know? There's a time my wife and I went somewhere, traveled and down to our region, and we were at a famous supermarket, and we were shopping. Then a local politician came in. Everything stopped. Everybody was helping Mwesh push trolley. Mwesh. Now, and it was just 1 year after elections. So you see, that's the problem. I think it's a deep societal problem, and how we detox ourselves of politics, I think, is going to be the big challenge going forward.
Yeah. I know Mark is not pleased when they hear that politicians are on constant search for votes in re-election. Where do we draw the line? Because it seems Wanjiku is the one struggling at the end of it all. We saw what happened in Nairobi last week when the president had his 5-day tour. A lot of destruction, muggings in broad daylight, shops were closed, literally speaking. We'll get to that shortly, but then where do we draw the line then?
I think the problem with our society is our own making. And I'll put this in leadership. I think there is lack of leadership in our governance system. Because whenever you find a politician feeling insecure and he feels that the coming elections might not favor him, you'll find in a situation like that, somebody will want to continue politicking so that he can secure his election in the coming elections. And I think also it has also a problem to do with our values, because the kind of leaders we get are not servant leaders. Somebody is elected to not necessarily to lead or to give leadership to the people, but we find many times we are electing people who go for elections for selfish needs. One, you find that every now and then we get leaders who just go there to eat and not to serve the Mwananchi. And that's why you see every time we have people campaigning. There's also another issue I find in our society. If many times our elections are determined by who is at the top, and if you find a president who wants to move around campaigning, then what do you expect from other leaders? You will find even from the MCA to the MP to the governor, you'll have set the record, and everybody will be wanting to to campaign.
Okay.
So I think also we need also to have some
I want us to do
some
something.
decency. Yeah?
Wafula is signaling me here that he wants some tea.
With sugar.
With sugar.
Without sugar.
Of course, we know where he comes from. Yes?
We grow sugar. We grow sugar.
Yes.
Not sugarcane. We grow sugar.
Please bring Nzoia sugar.
We grow sugar.
I think that's what I have on the table.
We grow sugar.
Nzoia sugar.
We'll bring back shortly. Say that.
It's not far from my village, so bring it here.
Pilau.
Unaweza pika vizuri?
Pilau najua tu nikiwa na kundikala ya pilau.
Sasa unajieka nini?
Kwa gani tunaenda nalo?
Nataka twende ama utaki twende?
Wakati huu tumefuturu. Ni njaa tu imeniingiza. Mimi sitaki kukula.
Wacha kubana nisikie kukotandika.
Big man. Wacha kunisoea, unasikia?
Kuvaa tu kitu kama hii na unafikiria mimi ni pia ni wale kumsala.
Umendisira kabisa.
Bwana hata nakurutisia shukrani kwa sababu ulipoenda pale Goligota utamekocha mbele zako ukielekea Goligota.
Hapo mlipofika ni hapo. Weka hiyo sinia chini.
Mimi nilishake wa Kirinyaga parish.
Si lazima mjifanye Waislamu.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into it. Wafula, are you happy now?
Yeah, I'm okay now because I can see Mumias and Nzoia inside here next year.
Very well. Very well.
And also we grow tea.
You grow tea?
Yeah, we grow tea.
There's no tea in Western.
In Nzoia there is tea.
Nzoia there is tea.
A bit of tea.
And coffee.
A bit of it. We all
And
know
coffee.
Nzoia
No,
is something
tea.
else.
When you go to Kapsara tea factories, they're producing a lot, massive.
And we have coffee as well.
And we export. Actually, the best we export.
Okay.
I'll
Something
bring
new to
a
us.
packet of it from.
That's something new to us.
From
Okay.
Nzoia.
So let's come back now that we all have our cups of tea apart from me. It's okay. I'll take care of that later on. But then, what happened last week? Just also give you time to also get into it. So where do we draw the line between governance and development? Because it seems that Wanjiku is not going to have that time to rest. When you heard what Honorable Odinga said over the weekend in Manzoni, he said there comes a time when everything should just calm down, politically speaking. And, you know, politicians to go back to their corner and deliver to Kenyans. Then when the right time comes, it will be the turn of Kenyans now to make a decision. But it seems that is not what's on the paper.
Yeah, you know, Victor, Raila has been in this field for quite some time. Now, when he has seen that that point that continuous politicizing is costing this country, because previously, when he was opposing to Moi, he made Moi on campaign mode throughout. Later on, when he was against Kibaki, he made Kibaki on campaign throughout. Now he has learned that making a president, a sitting president, on a campaign mode throughout, then he'll also concentrate on campaign. Finally, there is no development in the country. He will be using the resources, taxpayers' money on movement. And imagine when the president goes to, like your home village, my brother, where that is in Kitui.
Kitui, yeah.
Kitui. How many fleet of vehicle goes there? The cost of fuel.
Hundreds.
And also advanced team that will occupy the all accommodation in Kitui town. That is the state funds.
And that's an economy.
That is economy. Also eating, preparation for the president. Just a visit of one day. It's massive. If you take that money, 3 visits can build at least 10 kilometers of tarmac road. So putting the president on a campaign mood throughout, it's a cost on our taxpayers. It's a cost on us.
But who is putting another? He's the one putting himself.
You know, when Mount Kenya started after exit of Rigiji, Rigiji started putting president on a campaign mode. You understand? So the president has started moving out. So moving out actually will not concentrate on any development.
But I think that started way back even before the fallout. The visits across the country has been happening.
The rooftop.
Sorry?
The rooftop campaign started way earlier.
No, it started shortly and then it went down. It went down. I think now the president now realized that now I need to work. But after exit of Rigiji, he has started again. Now who is suffering? It is us, taxpayers.
Let me put it this way. Whereas I agree with my good friend, probably the addition will be, if you get into that position and that space, you know what you're getting yourself into. You're going to lead people who you know or ought to know. And therefore, it can be an excuse that you're not developing the country because you'll be put on a campaign mode. Far from it. In fact, the fact that there's mobilization towards campaign is the time to show what you have done. And you should be able to show people, this is the road that I've built, this is the industrial development that I have brought, and these are the jobs that I've created. Honestly, right now what I've had constantly, consistently, persistently, continuously is being told, there is housing project here, artisans have been employed. I have never seen myself. We've brought Mumias, a new factory in Mumias, a sugar factory, the tea factory, we brought this, no. Number two, you see, an issue of development is an issue of fact. So it's not a perception. We have to see. We have to feel. The economy is felt. It's, of course, we're not Kenyans are not economic analysts, so that they sit down and look at the demographics and look at the patterns and look at the figures. No, but they feel it. They'll complain because they feel it. The price of unga will be felt. The price of this will be felt. The cost of living is felt. In fact, the complaint is on account of the actual evidence of feeling of Kenyans if they are complaining. But let me put it this way, just probably to rationalize this discussion, will be that the general influence the specific. So the general population of Kenya will influence the results, meaning the result effect of an election, that is the leadership. So the leaders that we have are certainly from the general public. So the behavior of the public is what eventually then we get as a result. But again, the specific, I mean, the result mirrors the general, and that's probably the other argument to it. Meaning, therefore, if and I'm sorry to use this argument, but I have to use it. If there are cows, the one cow removed from a herd of cows remains a cow. If there are angels, one angel removed from a group of angels remains an angel. And these leaders are therefore Kenyans. The indiscipline in that leadership is a Kenyan indiscipline. And therefore, the campaign political, constant political, political and bickering and everything in this in Kenya is what Kenyans really are. Like I've said, there's a whole economy in politics. But again, the constitution is an inserting factor that defines leadership, the value of leadership, and also separates citizens and leaders. It separates. It distills, in fact, the behavior of a leader or a leader politician, if I have to call him that way, vis-a-vis the Kenyan. If you get into leadership, then you succumb and submit yourself into the delineation of Article 10 of the Constitution. Integrity, accountability, and all that we need to measure. And all governance issues. And therefore, like I've said, a cow of the general, the specific remains a cow, but you have a higher calling. So you can therefore blame yourself because you came out of a herd of cows. You must be different, meaning you have to either be different or behave differently, or even pretend to be different.
Yes.
In a sense, therefore, if you choose to develop or to show cause on development, you definitely must show cause on development.
But do you think Kenyans understand the difference between politics and governance? All of you?
There's a thin line, and let me just
because it seems that's where politicians take advantage.
No, it's not an advantage.
It's not so.
It's not taking an advantage. Isn't politics part of oversight? Isn't it part of oversight? Because Kenyans then are said to be politicking throughout, but what are we politicking? Look at the Gen Z's argument, for instance. What are they asking? It's part of politics, yes, but they're asking for accountability. Kenyans will politic throughout, yes, but it is the oversight role, and in fact, they are right under Article 1 of the Constitution. So they constantly cajole, they put the politician on his toes, and that is not to tell him to campaign. It is cheap to start campaigning just because you're being put into accountability and the crowd is hostile unto you. I think what is happening is, I think what should be happening is, when there is a call for accountability, you should be able to show cause. You're accountable, that you're accountable to the people, and therefore show us as a member of parliament, for instance, what you've developed. And if you haven't, then you start campaigning, and that's a way of running away from accountability.
So there is no difference between, Mark, you're saying there is no confusion between politics and politics and governance.
The nature of the...
Because you and I would understand the difference.
Yeah, you see, the nature of what you're asking, what you're asking is something that concerns politicians. So politicians...
What exactly?
We are talking about governance.
Yes.
But you see, you cannot separate governance from the personalities that are involved in governance.
Great.
And that is the politicians. And it is in the nature of a politician to politic. But what I'm saying is, what I want to say is this. There can be no excuse whatsoever for lack of development. There shouldn't be.
Yeah.
On the contrary, there shouldn't be. Why? Because everything is happening that is supposed to be happening. While we are politicking, Kenyans are still paying taxes. KRA is still raising revenue for development. So it's not like in economics. You know, it's actually supposed to be like in economics. All other factors, it's not like in economics. In economics, say all other factors staying constant. But you see, everything is moving. It's dynamic. It's now in the responsibility of the leader to keep tracking everything. While you are politicking, make sure that you are providing development to the people. Because at the end of the day, when they will ask you to account for it, you will not use their attendance of your political rally as an excuse to justify why you did not offer them development. So everything is continuing. While the president is going on his tour, like he's saying, he's politicking, KRA is still raiding people's shops and asking them to pay taxes. So you cannot say because the president is campaigning, that's why there's no development. We can't have. All of them are supposed to happen simultaneously. Everything is supposed to happen. Well, you cannot use one to excuse not playing the other role. No, so everything must be happening.
But then now, what does Wajiko have to gain out of this? Because with politics, it's basically what politicians do to retain that power. And now governance is now what they do with that power they're being given.
Let me tell you something. This is probably one of the most informed societies in any generations, because we have information that is available, readily available online. So what is happening is that we have a heightened sensitivity and awareness to rights and expression that is unmuzzled. Everybody, when something happens in Nairobi, within 10 minutes, everybody knows across the country, because now we have cheap smartphones. Even in the villages, you will find a young man in a village walking on foot, in bare feet, but he has a smartphone.
Fully informed.
And he's on Facebook.
Right.
When you post something in Nairobi here, you say, President amefanya hapa, amepigwa mawe hapa Wanjia, someone in the village already knows within 10 minutes. So everything that is happening in Kenya, Kenyans are aware. Okay? So, and just like Ndugu George said, the people keep on cajoling. Once they sense there's something that is not going right, they make their knowledge of that known. Now it's now the responsibility of the leader to maneuver their way, while at the same time to make sure that they keep tracking the vision that they had for the country.
Yeah.
So you cannot throw away or take your sight off the vision, saying, I was distracted by people who are protesting in Kisumu. No, it's the responsibility of the leader. One of the responsibilities of leadership is to cast the vision, to make sure that the vision is clear, especially to the team that is helping you to implement that vision. While you've had news and you're being briefed, but you remind your team, hey, this is the vision, this is the goal, let's keep at it. So we are doing that, but at the end of the day now, when 2027 comes and Kenyans want to mark the script, you will tell them, yes, I went on development tours, but this is what I promised you people. So far, we have managed to achieve 70% of it, but because of the challenges, due to unavoidable circumstances, we were not able to achieve everything. But you will give an account. At the end of the day, you must give an account.
Kenyans are
You've
funny.
given another script. It's like you're part and parcel of whoever is scripting this.
You see, Victor,
What has been scripted?
You see, Victor,
I'm just analyzing it.
you see, Kenyans are good, Victor.
Yes.
I remember when Moi left to Kibaki, people sang, yote inawezekana bila Moi. In a short duration of almost 4 months, we miss you, Moi. We miss your politics. When Kibaki exited, we said, oh, sasa umetuletea nani huyu? Kibaki has done a lot.
Which is true.
They said, they have, Kibaki have built a super highway. We have never seen this before. It was a fact, yes. But now when Kibaki went, we got to Uhuru. Later on, we said, Uhuru is doing nothing. He's just sitting in State House. When Uhuru left, we said this guy had done a massive road construction, which is a fact. He brought us expressway. Anyway, I'm a user of expressway. I enjoy it. And so many roads, anyway. Now Ruto is here. People are talking differently. I don't know when he will leave. We need a legacy from him when he leave, when he exited the stage. That Ruto did this and this and this. But from where I sit, Kenyans and me as a politician, you know, I want to be heard. I want to be, you know, that is where I earn money. Politics is, that is my office. Without politics, I feel like somebody has snatched my office. When you block my mouth, and this mouth makes me earn money, people vote for me to be somewhere to get money, then it won't work. So they want to use all means to ensure that they get good money, go back to the village, mobilize. Even when you see the way you said, my friend, when you see that gathering, it's mobilized financially. That group is mobilized. So when you said that you were in a supermarket and Mheshimiwa came, everything was a standstill, people wanted some little handouts. Now I give you an example with my colleague, my former colleague, the president. I was in the force. The president of Burkina Faso. You know, there is no politics there. There is no politics. People are seriously working. Now, when you want to exit from the stage and hand over to civilian regime, countrymen are refusing. They say, just continue, please. So we want that thing also to happen in Kenya, which I don't think it will happen any soon.
I want to draw some comparison here. Mark Nding'o, again, you can also comment on this gentleman. When you compare, you all agree with me that the former president, that is the late President Mwai Kibaki, I don't know why we keep on referring to him. Perhaps he was the SI of politics and governance in this country. Rarely would we see the president doing rooftop around the country. It was on rare occasions. You would, did you see Mwai Kibaki?
No,
rooftop?
he didn't. He didn't do rooftops.
He did rooftop.
In fact, he ignored politicians for the longest.
Right.
He was a politician, but he ignored a lot of
So
people.
how do we, yes, I know all politicians have their own, style of doing things, but we still talk about President Mwai Kibaki posthumously, what he did, and it's going to happen for the longest time. Let's talk about free primary education. We are talking about it to date. But there is no day that he went somewhere and talked about it. Everything was happening behind the scenes. So what really works? What really works, Mark? I mean,
just a moment on that one.
Yeah.
Last time when I was here, Victor, I said this, that it is time the advisors of the president to advise him to stop rooftop speeches campaign. Because right now, anywhere he goes and either launch something or promise something, people will say, Wongo. I remember that road from in Isiolo. That road, the contractors on side is doing it. I'm a consultant on that road. When he said the same people of Isiolo saying Wongo, and the road is being tarmacked. You see?
So there's a danger to that.
So there is a danger to that. And also, I think this is the time whereby the president can just go and commission, leave alone speeches, come back to the office.
Mark, I think the kind of leaders we elect, I think I'll go with, I think I have a problem with that. Because at the point of election, Wajiku elects a leader to go and serve a certain, for a certain period.
Yes.
And many times, our elections are decided by emotions, not on manifesto, ideologies. And that's why you find many times we get it wrong. And we all know we cannot be, our leaders cannot be the same, because if you compare the presidents we have had for the last years since we got independence, you'll find that Kibaki will come out as one of the leaders who got to the presidents and starts to work for the people. And that's why you'll find many times you ask any Kenyan, who is your best president ever? They'll always mention Kibaki. Why? Because Kibaki did not go to, he was not elected to go and do politics. But it's something I think we need to change on the election day. Because if you say you are going to be elected and immediately you are elected, you start campaigning, then that's where you miss the point. Because you have, for example, a president has ministers, he has his cabinet.
Yes.
He has a minister for roads. The work of a president is to delegate. You elect a president, you elect a minister for roads. Anytime you want to launch a project, whether in Garissa, in Bugoma, you only need to use that minister to do the launch. And you spend less because you don't need to carry all the cabinet to tour, calling that tour a development tour, and you have everybody in that area. So if you want to work for the people, let the ministers do their work. Leave the minister for finance to do his work, minister for trade to launch those markets, Minister for Health to launch those hospitals, and then the work of the president will be to remain at the State House and to get those things the president is supposed to do, and leave the minister to do their work. Okay. So I think that's where we miss the point, because like in our current situation, we have a president who wants to be everything. He wants to launch the roads, he wants to launch the CDF projects, he wants to launch the hospitals. And where do you leave your ministers?
Okay.
They remain to be spectators.
Where do you leave your ministers? Mark, where do you even leave your members of parliament? I mean,
see.
Okay. The president said that he allocated 500 million shillings to complete that bridge in Kangemi. Well, was that work of the president to do that? Or how is the president's itinerary being drawn whenever there is? I know probably you might not, not speaking for the president, but
no, I don't work for the state.
Exactly.
I'm not an employee of the state.
But how should it happen? When you talk about public policies and service delivery and even state ideologies, how does it really work?
Victor, I agree with my brother Mark here, Mark X.
Mark X, and then Mark 2.
Mark X, that
yes.
Most Kenyan leaders are elected through an emotional process, and thank God is a product of an emotional process, elected as a member of a county assembly through an emotional process. And just going before I come to this,
yes,
you know, you mentioned about President Kibaki. I think it is important when we have a conversation such as that to be able to put everything into context so that we have the full picture. When Kibaki took over from Moi, the national debt was not even 1 trillion. It was not. Now, when Kibaki came in, took over from Moi, remember, he just taken over from Moi, and Kenya had been denied aid by the Bretton Woods institutions, IMF, World Bank, and all those. They had blacked out Kenya.
Yeah.
So during the time of Moi, he was not receiving any of that money. Why? Because Moi said he didn't want to be manipulated. Remember the story of the structural adjustment programs and the privatization of public parastatals and all those kind of things, privatization. Moi had refused those conditions. And so the World Bank, the Bretton Woods Institution, the development pass, they shut down the funding. So Moi, everything was shut down. So it looked like Moi was doing nothing, but Moi was actually working hard to protect our national interests, not to be taken off. So when Kibaki came in, now he decided to play ball. Now the funding resumed. So that is when now it seemed like now finally tumeanza kuona maendeleo. You see, so that then people are able to appreciate that. When Kibaki left, he left our national debt standing at around not even 3 trillion. It was not even 3 trillion. So it was 2-point-something trillion. And the main flagship project, the Thika Superhighway. But let's also not forget that during Kibaki's time that we had some mega scandals. Things like Anglo leasing and all those things happened during his tenure. But what people say, we can see Thika Superhighway. So that is always the downside to it when you are dealing with politicians. Now, when Uhuru took over, by the time he left us, he had even gone to Parliament to ask them to lift the lid.
Yes.
On the borrowing. It was past 10 trillion. So when people don't and what was left, the major one is the expressway. But you see, the common wananchi don't use the expressway. You see, they say we can see something, but they don't use it.
Okay.
So now when Ruto came in, people are saying, "Ay, Uhuru at least alifanya kitu." Ruto, but you see, you are judging Uhuru served his 2 terms, 10 years. But I believe by 2032 we will be able to appreciate what Ruto. I suppose we will be able to appreciate what Ruto will have done.
2037 elections.
What do you appreciate? Victor, I don't.
We have a 5-year cycle.
But then coming to the president's itinerary, the president's itinerary. Just in 20 seconds, 10 seconds.
Before to break.
Let's take a quick one, and then when you come back, I'm still going to give you more time.
The itinerary still. I want to say something
exactly.
about the itinerary.
Our numbers are all 0716 103301. 0716 103301. Politics and development, what do you think is happening in the country? Should politicians just take a backseat and work for you? Or probably, is it working for you in your constituency, wherever you are? Talk to us. We'll be right back shortly. Stay with us.